Assalamualaikum everyone. So today will be the last video I'll be recording of Mr. Viswanathan Anand versus Team Pakistan. So the final game we'll be analyzing is between FIDE Master Waqar versus former world champion Viswanathan Anand. So this game was played in the Asian Junior Chess Championship in 1984, which was held in Chennai, India, I think. So giving a little bit of a backstory about Mr. Waqar is that he has a rating of 2270 and he hails from Karachi, I believe. I've never met him in person, but I have chatted with him on WhatsApp, and he's given me a couple of good tips. And I believe he is one of the few people in Pakistan who's actively trying to better chess for juniors. He organized a tournament last summer, I believe, of Kedar College or some Alpha College, I believe. So yeah, Mr. Waqar has been playing chess for a long time. He was a very active junior chess player, and I believe took part in the Asian Junior Chess Championship three times, and even got a position once, I believe. So without much further ado, we'll begin analyzing the game. Mr. Waqar had the white pieces, and Mr. Anand had the black. So Mr. Waqar begins with the move e4. We have c5, knight f3, e6, d4, c captures d4, knight captures d4, knight f6, and knight c3. And over here we have the move d6. So what's happening here? This is known as the Savishnigan variation, where black does not opt for the usual knight c6, but rather d6, sorry. And he's keeping the two central pawns, which are albeit a small center with e6 and d6, and a semi-open c file over here. So this opening is so basically in this opening, black will try to go over here and keep his pieces towards the c file as well, and he's pretty much being flexible until white commits to a strategy through either g4, f4, or bishop c4 over here. Nowadays, the Sebastian is not played through this move order due to the immediate threat of g4, known as the crest attack. Instead, it's played through e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c captures d4, knight captures d4, knight c3, I believe, and a6, and then only later e6. So it's basically nowadays played through the Najdorf variation move order, and then instead of the usual e5 as you do in the Najdorf, you go e6 instead, leading to the classical variation. So we have bishop e3, the start of the English attack. It's a plan based around playing f3, queen d2, and short and long castles on the queen side, where black will castle king side and white queen side, and both of them will roll pawns down the board, and we'll see some exciting chess. So we have a6, stopping ideas of knight b5 or bishop b5, targeting the weak d6 square as you usually do, and a4, a bit of a weird move. Instead, I believe the prescribed English attack was better. But over here, a4, what it does here is it does intend on playing a5 in the future, but it does also weaken the b4 square. So over here, knight c3 would be better. Otherwise, if a4 isn't played, you go knight bd7 in these structures. But over here, since a4 has been played and the b4 square is now weak, you play knight c6 to b4. So the game continues with bishop e7, bishop e2, castles, and queen c7, aligning the queen with the semi-open c file and also overprotecting the e5 square, I guess. It also connects rooks. So f4, starting a kingside attack. We have knight c6, which is a good move as we discussed earlier. And uh, knight b3. So over here, white isn't interesting in trading pieces as he has much more activity and more space available. And we have b6. B6, what it does is stops the problem of the weak b pawn, which might have been possible if something like bishop f3 uh, and maybe some tactics could have been played against the c6 knight. And it's pretty much stops ideas of a5 as well, uh, because if a5 would push, the b pawn would have become weak. So we have so the game continues with bishop f3. Like I said, maybe there are some potential tactics in the position against the c6 knight, but okay, those tactics are resolved in the next move in by rook b8. We have queen e2. Uh, Over here, probably g4 was much better because white has already committed to a kingside pawn majority and would have been better to push. But okay, instead we have the move uh, knight a5, which is a very nice move, I believe, because over here it does look, in fact, that black will double his pawns, but the double pawns are irrelevant because the b4 square is weak, and once they have been doubled, the white won't be able to ever push his b pawn, and if he ever does push b3 to protect, the c pawn becomes weak. So we have also, yeah, the as the b4 square is weak, the rook might also infiltrate and try to attack the structure this way. So yes, we have knight captures a5, b captures a5, and as we discussed earlier, the b pawn is weak. We have knight d1, only move to keep an somewhat advantage, uh, and white is reduced to passivity in this position. So we have uh, bishop b7. Alternatively, what white could have played is black could have played is the move e5. This is a very nice move, I believe. F5, and if f captures e5, we have d captures e5, and we can see already that white's bishop has no good squares. So instead, the after bishop b7, the move knight f2 was played, improving the position of the knight. We have we have d5. So this pawn break is weaker than the previously discussed break, because after e5, you can't push g4 for obvious reasons, considering that this pawn will become weak, or maybe you can, I don't know. And it's now white's bishop, which doesn't have any good squares where it can go to. So we have e5 locking up the position, and knight e4. Over here, a bit of a slow move by white, queen d3. So as the position now opens up, it's clear that black will have something to play for, which is the clear-cut weakness of the b pawn, where white will have little to play for. Over here, better would have been a knight d3, protecting the b pawn as we discussed, which is a weakness, as well as the c5 square, which is an important square, where in an ideal world, maybe black would want to put his bishop over here after trades. The game would have continued like so. C3, an important move over here, maybe trying to fix this weakness over here. So we'd have knight c5, g4, bishop g4, and over here the plan is obviously to you can't push the f pawn because of this weakness. So yeah, so we'd have after the move queen d3, we had rook f c8, c3 as we discussed earlier, trying to fix this pawn over here, trying to fix this weakness over here by maybe somehow trading over here in the future if it's ever allowed. Over here, it's interesting to note that bishop captures e4 doesn't work because after d captures e4, knight captures e4, black has this a very good move, bishop c6, threatening this pawn, threatening this knight over here as well as mate over here. So if this knight ever moves, there will be mate. So this just hangs a piece. So we have knight c5, a very placing a very strong piece on c5 and making use of the weak b4 square, so you can't simply push this knight out of the way. And it's one. So I mean, you really can see Anand's class over here by allowing white double response, which actually now serve as uh, a plus point for black rather than that positional concession as they usually do. So we have queen c2 and bishop c6 targeting a loose pawn over here. And over here, b4. So b4 turns out to be a grave mistake. I think but miscalculated over here a bit. Over here, I think the knight over here is too strong, so I think bishop captures c5 had to be played for white to have any potential chances in the game. So the game would continue with bishop captures h5 and h1 with such and such moves. And I think over here, white does have chances, but okay, b4 was played, which is actually a blunder because of the move a captures b4, c captures b4, rook captures b4, and over here, white probably thought uh, that he would be fine, but he probably missed this next move, which is rook c4, and over here, white's structure starts to fall apart. We have queen d2 and bishop captures c5. Now, if we analyze this position, I believe black to be completely winning over here. He has the bishop pair for one, an extra pass pawn. Okay, so this pawn has no other pawns instead of it and will be soon to queen. And this weakness over here, uh, and this weak a pawn over here, which can soon be targeted. So now looking at black's pieces, he has all of his pieces piled up on the c file, which is a very good sign. As we said, discussed earlier, that play would be focused around the c file. His bishop pair very nicely eye the king, and maybe in the future, if pieces if these rooks and queens are well coordinated enough, maybe this queen could be harassed. So we have rook fc1, an exchange of rooks, and bishop captures a4. A very nice move, saying that if white ever decides to capture this bishop, this comes with check and you lose the queen. So this bishop can't be captured. And so we can really see that white is beginning to crumble under under a bad position. So as Bobby Fischer did used to say that tactics flow from a superior position. So we have queen e1, bishop b5, eyeing the bishop pair now eye the king, and h3 creating some sort of a escape route for the king if ever need be. And over here, white misses this move, bishop d4. Over here, so there's very little that white can actually do to keep himself in the game, as he's completely positionally lost, and there's little I believe white can do because any place this rook moves, the queen's infiltrating on the second rank, and this knight is pinned and will eventually be lost. So over here, I believe white mentally resigned the game as he played queen h2, giving up the rook over here. So the game continues on for a few moves. Queen captures a1, queen c3 was played, offering exchange of queens. Obviously, he declines, but that only makes his position worse. So queen d1, queen e3, threatening to take over here, king g3, and the final in the coffin was rook c1, because after this the queen is effectively trapped. If if white goes for the move over here, then just simply queen c3 and the rook is still trapped, and white will and black will win the game. So yeah, this was final game. Um, so Mr. Lothi did end up beating Team Pakistan 3-0, which just goes to show the power of world champion beating an entire country. So yeah, this was it. Next, we'll be analyzing the game. I believe I'll be uploading it in a couple of days. The next game we'll be analyzing will be Salman Ali Khan versus Rais Ansari, who's a national master. So that will be a pretty interesting game. Stay tuned, and yeah, goodbye.